Start.
Yeah.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Yet another show from Must Research. For those who don't know us, Must Research is a club at the foremost. It's a community of scientists and enthusiasts. So I wouldn't say only scientists. It's both community of scientists and enthusiasts across India and overseas who are actually interested in the growth of artificial intelligence. So currently, Must Research has about 700 odd people as a part of it. It has also diversified into education and some other areas. And as enthusiasts, as I was just saying, it's pretty much our interest and our duty to kind of address everybody on a regular basis, talk about artificial intelligence and where are we. So today we have a very interesting topic with us. And before that, let me just wish all my viewers a very happy Independence Day. And on the eve, on the cusp of the Independence Day, we wanted to kind of bring a topic which is very relevant as to how do you democratize artificial intelligence in India. So that's our topic for today. And I have with me Joy, who's the founder of Must Research. We have got Auditro. Guys, if you can just wave to the audience, that will be great. So that's Joy with glasses, and Auditro without glasses, and Charan without glasses, Anubhav with glasses, and Shodamini, who's just joining. So, Shodamini, say a hi to our audience, please.
Hi.
Right. So, guys, let me just give a context to this talk. While we get into our day-to-day lives with artificial intelligence at every corner, right? When we are watching movies on Netflix or any other software, when we are paying our taxes, when automatic tweets come our way, we deal with artificial intelligence in many ways. But it's still a country of 1.3 billion people, and there's a lot of talk about how do you actually drive public service at scale using AI? How do access to utilities become easier? What kind of growth opportunities do we see as a country, as a nation as a whole, as well as us, as parents, workers, students, individually? And what are the practical challenges? Because any country with 1.3 billion people is also a logistical nightmare in a way, because it's a huge thing, right? So today we are basically going to talk about how far has artificial intelligence actually progressed to address the challenges of such a big country, right? And my first question goes to Orithro. So Orithro, Must has been actively collaborating. So if I talk about public service and some of these areas, then Must has been actively collaborating with several departments across states to draft AI policies, and at the same time has also been helping students. So while it is trying to understand the demand and create a demand, it has also been helping with the supply, right? Creating the right kind of students who will get into a career in artificial and will take it forward, right? So both professionals and students have been benefiting from Must. And democratizing artificial intelligence has actually been kind of a cornerstone, or like a mission statement for Must for a while. So let me ask you with a basic question. What does democratizing really mean? What do you mean when you say democratizing artificial intelligence?
Okay, thanks, Tony, for that question and this opportunity. And once again, very happy 75th Independence Day to the entire audience and the community of Must and all attending here. It's a great moment and opportunity to talk about democratizing AI for India at this platform through Must thing on this great occasion of 75th Independence Day of India. So when Tony mentioned, and Tony already laid down a lot of eminent factors in India, the way we at Must look or we realize that 1.3 billion, the second largest population of the world, Must or India rather is like one of the most crucial global market where we have all different diversity given the basic roots and the background of India, and all the kind of diversity in terms of economic, in terms of taste, in terms of preferences, in terms of needs. So this gamut of diversity that we have, and when we want to scale up as a nation, when we want to scale up in terms of all the things we want to optimize as a nation, we want to grow our nation, we want to pull up all the different segments of the societies, right from different parts of the country, different demographies, be it rural, urban, semi-urban, co-rural. There's so many different industry sectors dimensions which needs a hell lot of optimization in one word and hell lots of boost, a lot of focus are required to scale up. And in doing that, a lot of innovation are required. So, as Tony mentioned, as different departments, different sectors. So, at must, one of the major goal or vision statement of must that we have is leverage and democratize AI for India. So we look out, we have a vision and plan of developing 30 different AI-based technology solutions across at least 30 different domains, which are very deep rooted into the future and the lives of Indian citizens or Indian economy as a whole. And in that space, what are the different AI-oriented solutions that we can bring as AI professionals? So as Tony rightly mentioned, so just not students, but any individual, anyone who thinks of leveraging the space, who wants to do something, path breaking, something that we want to, how we can, which can thrust or push the nation ahead going forward in terms of AI or in terms of any kind of solution. How we can leverage AI as a technology, data science as a technology, machine learning as a technology, and how we can build on that. So we are very open. We are very eager to listen to any kind of problem, be it of a basic road transport to maritime to education, healthcare, financial inclusion, of resource management. These are the major, few of the topics of the very large level, which has a direct impact and bearing on the masses and the life of masses of Indian people. And when we say such kind of a huge population that we have, that we own, which is an asset, and how we can leverage, what are the different solutions that we can build for each strata of the society, of the economy, of different domain, different industry. So that is what democratizing AI here, because we are already working in talks with a lot of entities, be it private, be it government, be it PSU, be it social. So we integrate with all the different people, different dimensions of the Indian life as a whole. We call it society, strata, economy, whatever. And we try to hear out what are the different challenges or problem statement that's lingering out there today that's affecting the life, which if solved can be a big boost to the life experience of people as a whole. And in that space, in that parlance, through all the different verticals of must that we have, which Tony just mentioned, must research club, must research academy, as well as must research labs, we are always into an attempt to impart knowledge, gather knowledge, deliver solutions, upgrade the life of people leveraging AI. So that is how we want through our efforts, through our vision, to bring in AI as a tool, as a solution into the basic lives of human all around us. I hope if that answers to a larger
Yeah,
extent.
that's pretty interesting. And I'll just take from one of the points that you said, that it is primarily around, when I say democratizing, it's primarily around, getting everybody almost an opportunity to, who's interested, to give an opportunity to kind of experiment, explore, and also connect his or her personal growth with the overall growth that the industry or even the country is going through, right? That's how you guys have been doing it with different departments. Now quickly, for something like artificial intelligence to thrive, anywhere that uh, AI, or why should I say just AI, it's like anywhere that's innovation thrives, right? It is an environment that becomes very, very important. So we see areas, or cities like Silicon Valley or Boston, which has been actually actively working towards building an innovative environment. We obviously have Bangalore as well as as one of the startup or the startup centers across the world, right? It's now a very famous startup center. But we are talking about 1.3 billion people in a very, very large, let's say, environment. So if I say India, how do you think the Indian cities react to the innovative experimentation? Because you have had people from all over India as a part of your members, and you have also worked with students across India and institutions across India. So, how do you think, if I keep aside cities like Bangalore or Hyderabad, which are like the centers of innovation in any way, but how do you think the rest of the cities, how do you think, the rest of the country actually fosters this culture of innovative experimentation? And my question goes to Joy, actually.
Okay. Thanks, Tony. Yeah, great question. And as you know, right, in Mask Research, we have close to 700 members, and they are from different cities, different corners of the nation, right? And along with like a diverse kind of a crowd, starting with like students with their just completed their 10 plus 2 and started their technical program, or studying mathematics, statistics, and something which is related to computer science, and then data science and artificial intelligence. And from there, like till like some retired, very senior person, but they are all coming from different other cities as well. It's not about only Hyderabad or Bangalore or the metropolitan cities like Bombay, Pune, Kolkata. So we do have like pockets in the major 7 cities. At the same time, we are also getting like members from other corners, and we also travel. Like, I mean, we understand like the last 2 years, because of this COVID-19 and the pandemic effect, we like controlled some of these in-person interaction. But otherwise, what we used to do, right? We visit different locations, collaborate with multiple academic organizations. We take like workshops, hackathons, like small mini conference kind of thing. And again, from literally from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, right? So we cover the entire India. We have done it for multiple states in the Northeast, in the South, in the West, East, and the North Belt, right? So we covered like the places, as well as even if it is online, or people are, I mean, the members are interacting virtually, then also we are getting like responses from different corners, including the rural area, which is very important. Like not only the cities, like we are also getting like some members or students or professionals, or as Aritra said, like who is any individual who is passionate about AI, right? They are also coming from different other like tier 2, tier 3 cities, or towns or village, right? So that's great. That is very important, right? The awareness, right? The excellence of AI machine learning, because it's the future, right? When the computer also came, right? We thought about like what will happen if computer comes. Will, I mean, whether it will be impacting the regular job by human being and all. Same thing, same questions also happened like when AI came, and like whether artificial intelligence will be I mean, how much it will be important, whether it is a threat, and all these things. And beyond all these thought process or confusion, people are actually interested to know what it is, right? What to do with AI. Are we actually consuming artificial intelligence in our day-to-day life, with knowing or without knowing? So from that curiosity, right, and like more hunger towards knowledge, what we found, at least in Musk Research, right? I mean, people are actually joining us, and then collaborating with multiple projects, like open research projects. We are focusing on different domains, say healthcare, education, agriculture, retail, transportation, and so on. So there are 30 different domains we are focusing, but these first 5, right, we are calling it hard. Why it is hard? Because these are very close to the society, like healthcare, education, HE, then agriculture, A, then retail, R, and T, transportation. So these 5 are essential. Then next comes like the bits. So what we call like, suppose for banking, right, and electronics and electricals, and then I mean some other things, right? I mean, say for automobile, which is also important, but it comes later. It's like the next phase. But the first, what we are focusing, and that is, I think, multiple governments, like especially multiple state governments and the central government, they are also encouraging us to promote this awareness in the community, to build this community stronger, so that it's about like the knowledge, how we nurture the knowledge and then spread across,
Mhm.
right? Sharing knowledge will actually increase our knowledge as well. So that's very important, and what is happening in this research.
Right. So you have seen a very, very positive aspect coming, or a positive interest coming from not just the main metropolitan cities, which are like called the hearts of AI right now. Primarily Hyderabad taking a lot of initiative, and Bangalore becoming like the startup center of India. But great. Now comes the next question, because when you build a culture of innovation, one is to build a very, very strong supply base, right? And that comes from the students, right? So if we have great students, as you have seen, when I was working for a company, and that company was particularly based at the heart of an education heartland, I had seen this. When you have talented people around you, it is much easier to grow an organization than anything else, right? So we had a lot of students around us, and we used to just hire from there, and then we could think around innovation, right? So now, Charan, you have been dealing with a lot of students in Must, and you have been driving, I think, part of the patent program, as well as some of the others, right? So now that you deal with a lot of students, what do you think should be the mindsets? Because they are the future. If AI has to thrive in India, it has to be the students who has to take up a lead role. What kind of mindsets do you think is required to really embrace the spirit of innovation? That is, because, and I'll tell you where I'm coming from. Like when I was studying, and I went through school and college, but I think it is only when I was working that I kind of took on this idea of taking independent projects, even though we did college fest, which I think was the best education that I ever had, compared to the formal structure of giving exams, right? Because it taught me so much. It taught me about selling, about getting advertisers, organizing events, and all of that. I think we all have had that experience. Joy, I'm sure, had it, right? So uh, what kind of mindset do you think is required to really drive the spirit of innovation among students?
Great question there, Tony. Thanks so much for the question, and a very happy 75th Independence Day to all the viewers. And so, Tony, like you said, the answers in the question that you asked, the mindset the students have to grow. And you rightly said that today's students obviously are the tomorrow's program coders and programmers, and the researchers that are there. And the one mindset everybody needs to have to get right now is grow together. And I'll elaborate more on that, on what I mean by that. See, AI today is touching lives like technology hasn't done before. I mean, technology was there in everybody's life, but AI is taking that tenfold, hundredfold longer, and the reach is much larger than it was before. And right now, it is absolutely important that we just not think of innovating. We also have to think of scaling up the innovation and reusing the available technology for different perspectives, right? So to that extent, it is extremely important for the students to keep in mind that when they are writing when they're developing an algorithm, or writing some code, they have to be able to draw the analogy from some completely different use case and apply it in a completely different use case altogether. So it cannot be that I have one solution and I will write this solution that works only for this current use case. They have to, in a way, democratize the use cases that they are developing, then keep in the broad mindset so that they can
Mm-hmm.
reuse this part of the code elsewhere and grow their programs and grow them, grow their technology further. And second thing, while they do this, I think, like I said, grow together is the option that they have to have. It should also be that they have to, in my opinion, they have the mindset to share this with a larger community so that they can also leverage on the community-wide experience, community-wide expertises that are available out there. And if you've seen AI, even to right now, if you take the simple neural networks, for example, most of your neural networks that I use today are built on something that has been contributed by many to build on, right? So
Mm-hmm.
students definitely have to keep that in mind and grow on it and build more on what's available and give back more to the society so that you democratize the use cases and take it further. Of course, this does not imply that the students do not also have some business aspect to the course. But while they do have that, they definitely have to keep in mind that without the help of the community, without having that mindset to grow together, neither the technology will grow nor the students will grow as themselves as better human beings and better programmers. So grow
Right.
together is, I think, the way forward for AI, for students, even for the companies, for everybody together.
Quick question here, and I think Orithro, since you've been driving quite a few programs here, maybe I'll ask this to you straight away. When you say grow together, one of the things that I often see as a part of all the AI discussion is a very sharp divide, right? A sharp divide in the sense that there are people who are practitioners, who are actually actively pursuing a career in data science, or are actually pursuing careers in, or you know let's say a academic curriculum in data science, and the others, right? So when I say the others, I am an example of another, because my background is journalism, mass comm, marketing, content, nothing to do with AI, right? Now, when I say the others, we jump when a newspaper article comes. A recent one being AI got sentient. So how thousands of people have started writing, did AI get sentient? Are we going to have a robot revolution and all that, right? Now, when I say grow together, to keep all of this discussion out of the bay and actually focusing on what matters, right? What matters the most? Because we also know that investments are limited. There are focus areas need to be fixed for AI to truly grow, right? To actually impact. Uh, as Joy was also saying, heart, right? Healthcare, education. What are the ways that we can impact? Now, uh, but I also see is that when you want to truly have an impact, as Charan said, it has to be a grow together model. But how do you grow together when the other person doesn't understand your perspective, or doesn't know enough about your perspective, or doesn't have enough knowledge? So do you think, because AI principally has been an area of STEM subjects, right? It has been a part of the STEM education, and even until and unless you study something like science in +2 and then go into an engineering or a similar background, it somehow doesn't come into your curriculum, right? So if I was studying sociology, for example, or economics, it is not really a part of my curriculum all the time, or a critical part of my curriculum. But look at what is happening in agriculture, right? Look at how AI is impacting agriculture. And I personally think that it should be a very, very strong part of what the educational curriculum should be. So how do you think education beyond STEM subjects should be embracing artificial intelligence?
I think one of the very vital questions that one should ask, and thanks for asking this. So, just for the larger audience, I don't know how many follow. So, STEMS basically stands for, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, right? That's what Tony just referred to.
Right.
Non-STEM, which are the non-so-called core, which historically what we have never focused, or the at large people have not focused, at least in the Indian parlance in the context. The other things that Tony was referring to can, like examples of philosophy, nursing, law, public policy, real estate, dietetics, clinical nutrition, even accounting, economics to some extent, because economics comes under dimensional econometrics, which is again kind of comes under the domain of STEM. So that's just for the larger audience to understand what we are talking here. So while Tony, you mentioned quite some parameters and factors here. See, AI is not even like an ocean. Okay, it's kind of like a universe. That's the scale and the depth of it. Uh, VS, how do we do it? And I mean, so of course, if people don't have certain basic understanding, to make them foray into certain, to make them gain an understanding of something, becomes can become a bit challenging. So of course, it's not that everything's possible. That would be wrong to say. There are limitations, and there are valid limitations that one needs to embrace, understand, be always aware of. But whether that can be overcome, that's a different point. So of course, it can be overcome. So here at Must, as you rightly mentioned, so there are ways we can bring those domains, the understanding, even people who have not come from a STEM background, or who are not so strong in the STEM background. But if someone has an inclination, so not having a background and not having an inclination are two different dimensions of human trait psychology altogether. So if someone's very driven to do something solution, because the way the world was when I was young, I was of standard or primary school or secondary school or high school, and the way the world is today is altogether very different. So there are a lot of tools. Technology has embraced all lives highly, be it internet, be it smartphone, be it laptops, and all the other gadgets that we talk of, or the availability of information or availability of knowledge at the fingertips. So that is one thing. Here at Must, what we focus on are the abilities and the strengths. So if someone's strength is someone's very creative, someone has a lot of ideations, has a lot of idea, then rather than going so you mentioned in the starting of Must Research Academy also, you touched upon it. So
Right.
Must Research Academy is a very focused domain vertical of Must, where we do a lot of detailing in nurturing, in designing, in creating courses, the way, the how of it, like what are we going to do and how we are going to impart that knowledge. So we don't go into the very basics of it, like how a rudimentary academics would be. Rather, we try to do a bottom top down approach, not a bottoms up. So we explain a problem statement, we gather them so people would connect to it. What is the relevance of it? What kind of challenges it pose? And what are the things happening in the world? What are the kind of solutions that are delivered in the world already? What kind of technology that has been done through? And here, then, what kind of technology we are talking about? Do those technologies? What are the background that one's required? So if someone is not so strong in it, we take a separate dimension to bring them up to the scale, up to the level. So all these things are possible if there is a very strong inclination and drive in that person, that professional, whomever individual, if you talk to. But so it's not a prerogative that one has to come with everything. Yes, if someone's come with a very good STEM background, very good. It creates a base for us to take it forward. In case someone is not so strong, but has the inclination, vision, and desire to learn, to grow, and has a lot of solutioning ideas. So as we said, um, Must is all about, when we talk of democratizing AI, basically we are all about creating, listening first, understanding, and creating different solutions to break the, kind of roadblocks which can, take life forward. So in that sphere, and the other thing, as Joy was mentioning, and AI is kind of a tool in itself. AI is nothing, but what you use the tool for and how you use that makes the most of the all the difference. So in whichever context, whether be it law, like law, there are a lot of NLP and a lot of psychological traits, a lot of human behavior. So at most, we train people, we try to bridge that gap. So there is a business problem statement, so from there, how to break it down to different dimensions, how to conceptualize a business problem statement to break it down to a different kinds of data driven or data points. What are the, even if certain data points are not captured today, if we have to propose a big law firm, and just take an example, that how to parameterize it, what kind of data that needs to be captured in which fashion, from which source. So we try to gather and take people, walk people down the entire path, that when you're looking at a problem, or if you're going out in the traffic, you're facing a problem, if you're going out to a mall and you observe a particular problem, maybe it's about human related or system related or efficiency related, whatever, then one is to think about that, what are the challenges, what are the different parameters that define the problem, are they possible to be captured? How are they? So the entire journey from a business problem statement to a data understanding, from there to the AI ML data science path, and back again to how to embrace or implement it, to which actually goes back and solve the actual real life challenge, business problem, whatever you call it. So this
Right.
entire cycle, we try to walk the people through different things and different venues and different dimensions. And each of the components of must that we have, whether it's club, academy, or must research labs, we are always focused in, first listening, understanding the problem statement, and we are always optimizing ourselves in how we can put these things better so that tomorrow when you say non-STEM people are coming to us and they have a strong inclination and desire like you or anyone else who wants to carry this path of solutioning, that how we can bridge that gap, take them up to that level, upskill them or whatever you call it. So that's more what is must at the heart in the code is all about. Does that answer?
Perfect. Perfect. I think that answers, but it's actually a very large question, and I think it will only be seen over a period of
Correct.
time how
The one.
the formal academic structures, and I think that's how it happens, right? When organizations like must adopt it, and institutions see an impact happening, they also try and adopt it, right? So that's how a lot of things have got adopted. And that's brings me to another question, because I think I'm just hooked on to that term called grow together that Charan mentioned, and goes to Joy. Joy, you have been working, and have, I mean, one of the reasons you founded Must was to actually democratize, and you want to say that, I want to reach out to all the corners of India and, drive this entire interest about artificial intelligence there, based on the projects that you have done in your working career, and you want to take it forward, drive more students. Now, India, as we know, uh, is I mean, it is a language, it is a country of many languages, right? It's a country of many languages, and a country where people actually pursue their education in their vernacular languages. A very large population of, I studied, when I was doing my class, or class 10 or 12, a lot of my friends were purely studying in Bengali, right? So all textbooks were Bengali. Similarly, there are people who are studying in Hindi medium and Kannada mediums and all, right? So many languages, so many vernacular mediums. Now, when talking about artificial intelligence, or when you want to take the AI mandate forward uh, across the country, do you see language as a barrier?
So the question is, you're asking whether the diversity of the language, whether that's a barrier for
Correct.
learning AI or implementing AI, or
Mostly learning AI. Mostly
okay.
learning AI, because we are still with students and the grow together mindset.
Mhm.
Uh,
No, I
s-
don't think so. I mean, see, India is definitely, it's a unity in diversity, we say, right? So
right.
it's not about only language, culture, a lot of other things, even the geography, right? I mean, we have the snow in the mountain
Hmm.
also, like total rainforest, or it's a desert, right? So from that diversity perspective, we don't think like there is any bottleneck to learn or implement AI, because in AI we use the language say Python, right? Or
Right.
R, or C programming, right? I mean, it's a computer language. So the human language, or the natural language, even if we are studying in school or college in a suppose the primary medium, so language is just the medium, right? I mean, the way we express our thought
Right.
process is language, right? So and the knowledge what we are gathering via any language, that's very important, right? When I'm learning mathematics or when I'm learning statistics, right, I have to also know the language of maths, right? That's important, rather than whether English or Hindi or Bengali or Telugu is being used for explanation. So one is the explanation part, which is sometimes we feel very comfortable in our mother tongue, or like in any of the regional language. But once it goes to the concept, right, then it's language independent. And then coming to the point of like implementation and all, then it is totally independent, right? We use like the lot of programming language which is important for the uh,
Right.
AI. So then anyone, right, across the nation can learn that and then implement the logic, because it's all about the steps and the logic what we have to build together, right? So that's not a challenge. But another aspect of language is when we are implementing say natural language, understanding natural language,
Hmm.
generation using artificial intelligence algorithm, then definitely it's a challenge, and we are taking that challenge. We are working on a lot of those things, because the dialect, right? When you say Bengali, right, the Bengali also varies a lot within West Bengal or in Bangladesh or in different corners in India as well as across the world. You will not get
Right.
the same dialect. Same goes for Telugu, right? In Telugu in Hyderabad versus in Warangal or in Vishakhapatnam, it will vary a lot. So the dialect varies. Now, for that, like to capture that kind of a pronunciation, dialect, and all, right? So then we need like a lot of such like advanced algorithm, variety of data, and sophisticated logic to build those, so that we can build like the automatic speech recognition
Hmm.
or even synthetic speech generation, right? Both ways, right? Whether understanding the speech in different language or generating speech in different language. So we are working on that, like across India. We started working on major languages, and then we are trying to cover like all official languages in India, right? So that's happening. So that's why I'm asked, right? I mean, there are two ways where we can relate
Absolutely.
language
And I think
with
both
it.
are critical. And we've been talking about students a lot.
Mhm.
And, the topic still remains democratizing AI.
Mhm.
Now, something is truly democratized when everybody has equal access, right? Equal access and equal attention. And let me just go back to something that eminent author, C.K. Prahlad actually said, that the fortune often lies at the bottom of the pyramid, right? So if I go down to the masses, the absolute bottom of the pyramid, that is where actual growth lies. And and the small example that he gave is that when you look at let's say the poor coming under banking services, you are not just giving them access to resources, you are actually giving them the access or the dignity of attention, right? That it is the self actualization that happens when somebody who has not had these kind of accesses purely because of economic strata actually gets starts getting access to these, right? So my question now goes to Anubhav. I know there are a lot of projects that you guys are working on, and we had some idea about what you're doing with the students. But what are you doing, or the kind of projects that you've been doing where you really see the impact going down to that level, going down to the absolute bottom and touching what has remained untouched for a while?
Okay, so as we have a very, uh, closed view, as in like AI is the future, but it is not actually the thing. AI is rather something that is being implemented today, already started implementing.
Mhm.
Now, the broader diversity out here would be to say that let us all together come and, leverage this opportunity to, create a big, advancement in maybe education, in business, in the overall economy of a state, or transportation, criminal justice, smart cities, and already a lot of hype about that has already been going on. Now, I would like to mention a small quotation, like the Price Waterhouse Coopers estimated that artificial intelligence will actually increase the global GDP by by a full 14% by 2030. That will around amount to 15.7 trillion US dollars. Now, let us
Mhm.
just touch upon some ideas, like where can we implement the AI, and how must is helping the world achieve that, so that not only as data scientists or AI engineers we can benefit from that, but the mass, like the bottom of the pyramid, like you mentioned, Tony, the bottom of the pyramid can leverage that. Now, the first thing which comes to our mind should be healthcare. Now, artificial intelligence has the potential, advance healthcare in a lot of ideas. Now, let us just take the example of, cancer research. Now, for a person, a radiologist, to just take one sample of an image, then, just to say that whether it is a cancer cell or not, it takes a lot of time, lot of money. But if you are like feeding that into a computer, the computer will be able to, diagnose that, and then can automatically predict that. And so what happens is it minimizes the human time, the effort, also the big thing, the money. money out here will be saved, a lot of money. Now, the next question out here would be that is it going to take over the jobs of the doctors? No, absolutely not. We need domain expertise to see or monitor the machines. So this is how one of the examples where AI are actually being better than human in a very efficient way. But also
Mhm.
human intervention is absolutely required out here. Again, another big thing where it is a mass idea, where that is the preservation of environmental resources. Now,
Mhm.
that I would like to add how AI is being used to predict natural disasters, and then as you already mentioned, like agriculture. A lot of AI applications are being used in agriculture. Like how can we increase the yield, decrease the infestations and all these kinds. But that doesn't take over the job of the farmers or the researchers who are doing. Just it is just a helping aid, so that each and every person from very bottom of the society to the top, everybody can benefit from that. When a crop is being yielded on a field, we don't say that it is for the poor, it's for the rich, it's for the high class or the low class. Each and every person in this world is going to consume that crop. So why
Right.
not everyone builds together a solution and help that? Because at the end of the day, as human, we what we need is food, good health, and a good living. So that is the thing. Again, uh, big buzz is about recycling. Now, in recycling, we have seen the major part or the major time or major money is invested, in segregating the waste basically, and also, humans are doing that, picking waste and segregating them by manually. So, if we can, employ a machine in place of that, it will be done, in just snap of a second. It can segregate all the waste through the pile, and so recycling can also be aided along using AI. So that not only helps preventing the environment, but also to uh, generate more and more business, because
Right.
the recycling industry is big, and we see it's growing day by day. Now we have recycled jeans, recycled not only papers or toothbrush and things like that, but clothings are also being recycled. Okay, now after that, let's just focus on education. We have already been talking about education a lot. Now every teacher out there would say that each and every human mind is unique, but we are sitting in a class with 50 students and being taught the same thing. So are the all 50 minds equal? No, it's not. So we can have a unique kind of education where each and every student can benefit according to his mind. This is one aspect. Another aspect would be get education to all the spheres of the society. We are not concerned where the person is, on which country he is, which part of the world he or she is, which does he have access to high computing machineries, those things. But we can reach education to each and every person using AI.
Right.
Like for like AI as a tool, just Mr. Joyce had told us, AI as a tool, like our 10 years before, we saw when the mobile phones were emerging in everyone's hands. Before that, it was maybe a luxury item, but after that, people started using it as a tool, learning it. So that is what is important here, democratizing the tool as a tool. Not everyone has to develop AI, but we can use it as a tool. That is what
Right.
I'd like to explain here. So how can we do that? Like, once we have implemented AI in every small aspects which goes unseen now, things will be getting lots and lots easier. Okay, using AI. Now another thing which I would like to mention would be, it AI will help us to boost the security. We always say that AI is a security breach using deep fakes and many other things, like what we have seen in movies like Terminator or iRobot, the robots are taking over human beings. Not that. We can also boost security, like if the traffic management is implementing AI in their systems, what will happen? We can minimize accidents, we can minimize
Mhm.
other dangers. We also security, like police cannot patrol all this, like every roads of the city. So CC cameras can be, trained in such a way that it can detect dangers. A person with gun can automatically be, identified, and the alerts can be reached to the police station. So things like that can happen. Now in mass research, we have, worked with all these kinds of small aspects, leveraging the small AI techniques, and again, collaborating with different state governments and centrals too. Now the thing is, the first thing would be to explain. The explainability of AI is the next challenge which is going to come in. Like, how can we, as data scientists or AI engineers, can explain to the normal person what is AI and how it is safe for you? That is one thing. So, rather than thinking that AI is going to, take away jobs or things, we can think that how can we implement AI in such a way that we are being, aided by AI? How can we
Right.
maximize our efforts? So, we are not replacing ourselves, but we are just, boosting our creativity using AI. Okay, so that would be
Understood.
my answer to this question.
Perfect. I think it does answer some of the questions that I had in mind. And what I understand from you is that the more we look at putting it into day-to-day use, ultimately it reaches the bottom of the pyramid, because if it boosts education, agriculture, that also boosts employability, right? And it boosts the cultural or let's say the environmental aspects of livelihoods, right? So people get access to better water, cleaner, and you rightly said about insurance and some of these industries. So better insurance for the poor, and that's where it goes, right? Now, quick question, and this goes to Shodamini, who has been silent for a long time now. Shodamini, my question to you is, AI, when we talk AI, even though I know you have a lot of and must has a lot of women researchers, but it is till now a lot of men. When I go for these conferences and these talks and STEM, it is there's a huge gap even now, and not just in India, everywhere, right? It's being talked about, but how do you really bring in the diversity and inclusion? Because from my perspective, the fun part is, if all the researchers, or if 60% of the researchers are men, and they are the one who's feeding the data, what will the machine understand, right? It's going to only understand one perspective of the story, right? So at with all respect to all the other men here who have suddenly grown very sullen at this question, right? So, quick question: how do we bring diversity in AI, and AI as a subject, right? In the study of AI, in more and more people participating in AI, and that was also comes from my previous question: is that, how does AI become a part of other subjects, right? Like economics and all. Similarly, how do we get more women and more diverse
Yes,
people
so
in
first
AI?
of all, happy Independence Day to
Yeah, go ahead.
yes. So first of all, happy Independence Day to everyone. And where else can we find this diversified perspective other than India, right? So India
Right.
is uh, known for its the valuing the diverse perspectives. And adding to your point, yes, in 2020 economic survey, it was found that only 26% of women contribute to the global workforce. And like you mentioned, what will happen to the systems? It is happening because, if, for example, if you take BERT, which is like very popular one, and
Hmm.
if you search women works as a, it shows either nurse or teacher in the top priority.
Right.
So yes, the systems are already learning the biased nature of the world, and that is why it's important for more and more women to join the workforce and contribute to this world. Otherwise, we will only like we are already seeing the world where there is a lot of domination of the work, artwork, or the literary work by majority of the men. So that's what the future generation will see. So if we don't participate enough, then the future generation will see more of a biased world. So yes, the overall there is a lot of awareness of this fact, and industries and institutions are also working on this. So For example, one thing that I want to say is, one thing that I strongly believe is, women doesn't bring a different diversified skill set. Women bring almost the same skill set that is required to build any system. The only difference is their bring up, or their cultural differences, or the way the way they were fitting into the social frame. So that actually helps them to bring a different perspective. For example, in any project that I had worked on, whether it's an agriculture project or it's an emotion detection project for a must research, or it's a fashion project. So I wouldn't imagine building those systems without me, because there is equal importance and equal representation of women needed in building those projects. So that is one thing that I want the institutions to acknowledge, that uh, respect the diversified perspectives that sometimes don't judge them by the amount of time that they spend, but then look at the overall product that they have built with the diversified perspective. Sometimes we cannot spend like 10 hours a day or 8 hours a day, but then when we are working, we always will be with that mindset that yes, we have to build something great, because time is not luxury for us. So whatever time is thrown at us, we will try to make the best use of it. So that one thing, if the industry and can acknowledge, then I think that will make a big difference. And secondly, from the institution's perspective, there is requires lot of awareness, because what drives women is financial freedom is one aspect of it. The other aspect is the purpose. Why we are doing this? What is the purpose of
Right.
learning something new? So through mass research, like recently I've done one session in an engineering college where we have presented them like, oh, this is how the industry projects look like. And these are the kind of projects that you can build using AI. And I was glad to see a lot of girls' participation in that group. And I believe more of those awareness sessions are required. That's why the academia needs to connect to the industry. Say, for example, I'll give you a this thing. So I went to the breast cancer scanning, and they did a no touch and very least cost equipment, not the mammography one, but like um, using a infrared camera, and they generated heat maps. So out of curiosity, I went and asked them like, how will you detect whether there is a cancer lump here or not? So they said, we will uh, learn it through AI. So I was surprised, and I did bit more research to understand like what is the technology behind it. And it was good to know that there were a couple of women who were behind that technology. It's called Neera Mai. Uh,
Right.
and there are two co-founders like Geeta Manjunath and Nidhi Madhur. And we actually need that kind of awareness, and those kind of products we need. Also to understand what kind of products that we need from women point of view, right? So that awareness is the second aspect. And thirdly, role models. Like I have grown watching Sunita Saravagi in IIT Bombay, and she was such a great inspiration. Like she's on top of the research, and then she
Right.
gives a lot of inspiration to many women researchers. Similarly, at industry also, I've learned so much from the mentors who have already grown or who are successful at the career. So in the Must Research Club, or like I know Joy started his first project as Mastani, and then he so that shows his inclination for inclusion and
Diversity.
diversity. So even the robo is like Mastani, and yeah, so that inclusive environment and that networking space, and look up for someone who is already successful in that field, and we aspire to become like one. I think these are the three important aspects for industry or academia to provide for the women. And lastly,
Right.
I want to say, look, some women might take breaks in between, and like something like Must Research provides them an opportunity to continue their journey with the career. Like I had taken a full-time break from academia, but associating with Must Research has helped me to learn the cutting edge technologies, and then experiment few things, and still be in touch with the subject. And that kind of gives me that, okay, I'm not disconnected from the world at any point in time.
Right.
I believe that is important for women. You might take break for maternity or for any other reason. And having a ecosystem like this always helps. You need not feel that you went to ground zero from where you were earlier, and you can still get connected to this world, AI world. Yeah. So that is
Very, very, very relevant. I think one of the most relevant points that you highlighted, right? That
those are the
and
things
it's
that I wanted to
such
share.
a critical point in diversity, that without diversity, your machine is not going to learn, right? It's going to run all the long things. Anyway, so now one more question, and I think Charan, because you highlighted the grow together story, right? And it's still running in my head. Pretty much everything is, all the questions have become grow together questions. Now, no discussion. I mean, while we grow and we bring in the new tech into our lives, right? And we have seen sometimes what happens with new tech coming. I mean, it's very exciting, but at the same, we need to also understand the human aspects of it, and primarily the human rights aspects, right?
Yes.
Uh, when a tech comes into my life, how much of my life is it trying to control or conquer or check upon or sneak upon? Now, when it comes to AI, and primarily in a country like India, because our privacy, we know. I mean, given the space in which we live, we crowded cities, and crowded buses, crowded public vehicles. Uh, how much of, and now AI is everywhere, right? Even in form of Alexa, or every time I write an email, it corrects me that you are using wrong English. How much of it is actually, what are the kind of ethical concerns that we need to be aware of when implementing AI?
Great question, Tony. Thank you so much for asking this. And I hope I can do justice to this super important, super vast question. So, see, I categorize this human rights problem into two types, especially when it comes to AI. Of course, we do have the questions such as biases and the need for the women also to step up, like how Saudamani had just mentioned. But when we think specifically of the AI itself, there are two primary things that come to my mind. One category is human rights in terms of the employment, and second is human rights in terms of the misuse of technology from because of artificial intelligence. See, I know I am, we've had this episode before as well, where I'll talk about first one, the is human rights in terms of employment. So we've had this issue where people lost their jobs to automation before, and now artificial intelligence is coming in, which is taking jobs, taking away jobs even more. How people usually perceive it. However, for example, taking Anubhav's example where he said like AI, a farmer, we deploying artificial intelligence into a farmer's life does not imply that we are taking away a farmer's job. Farmer still has his job, but AI is there to enhance their job or make their lives easier, right? I think this is the mindset that everybody should have, and human rights, uh, while there are there, I think companies here should take policies to ensure that the employees work, the employment is stable. It's only when the employment is stable is when the employee performs at his best. If the job security is not there, obviously the performance drops down hundredfold. So companies have to have these policies which upskill the people and help them do their jobs better by deploying artificial intelligence, not the way they are around. And I think this is one big concern that companies don't give a lot of thought to, and they definitely should. One best example of an industry that has done this is the the security industry. When you see today, this most of the security, building security is complemented with artificial intelligence. However, that has not taken away the security jobs. It has, in fact, we now see even security, if you take community society security personnel as well, they have been upskilled to handle these devices or apps that come with artificial intelligence with them, which help them do their job better, right? So while they are still employed, Their employment job security is still there. Their life is now enhanced with the availability of technology. And I think this one big concern can be alleviated by companies taking up this policy of upskilling their employment or upskilling their employees. Okay. However, now how to do that is it's a non-trivial answer. There are tons of industry experts out there who are ready to help the industries, get an answer to that question. But however, in my opinion, a larger concern is human right concerns because of misuse of technology. We've seen the advent of this deep fakes. In my opinion, that's an unfortunate term that is given to a very beautiful technology. So those who are not aware, deep fake is basically a video of a person which is completely fake. So the person would have never spoken or given that speech or any of those texts, but the technology helps someone else to create a set of videos, their audio tone and the expressions and everything, such that it's very convincing for someone to see that someone has actually said it when they've never done that. Okay, that's what a deep fake is. While it's a very beautiful technology, I cannot help but be afraid of the ways that it can be misused, especially when you have someone very, have a deep fake of a very influential person just randomly being posted online. And I don't know what all horrific things that can unfold, right? So while we have this concern, technology is just as good as people using it. The same deepfakes can be used for a ton of other purposes. So in my opinion, to help alleviate these concerns, right, I think the ethics need to start from grassroots level. I think they have to be taught in colleges. People should be made aware of the horrific things that can happen because of misuse of technology, and ingrain in their mind to do the right thing. One second thing, the companies need to have super strong policies in place. For example, if we just heard of the privacy concerns, right, where we are writing an email and it predicts, but we're also concerned that it's also reading up all my text. So companies need to have policies in place which ensure that the privacy is still maintained at its highest level. And today, when you see the customer or when the end consumers, they are more aware of the privacy concerns than they were ever before. And if you think about it, people did not really have a big care for the terms and conditions of privacy notices before, but now you've seen that great deal of people actually go and read your privacy statements to see what you're doing with the data, right? The people are more aware today. So it's in the best interest for the companies to have a stringent policies in place so that none of the human right violations occur. And it's their best interest, because today in the cutthroat competition, you have customer churn, that's it. It's very difficult to get them back. So, for that, companies need to have the policies. They need to have the governance models readily available. For example, United Nations has recently done a great job with its protect, respect, and remedy framework through their guiding principles and on business and human rights. It's called UNGPs that are available for the companies to take and build on. I think companies need to leverage on these and have super strong models in place. Lastly, I think extremely strict government policies and extremely stringent laws have to be brought in place to ensure that there's no misuse of someone because of artificial intelligence. It's only then that people will trust the technology and can do the greater good that it's meant to do. Without these in place, it will be a great risk to human rights, and there's a large scope for human rights violations. So again, grow together. It's in the interest of the governments, the companies, and people themselves to ensure that everything is ethically used so that we enhance our lives for the better. I hope that answers.
Yeah, I think that and this is a very large topic, right? So we need another discussion, or maybe a completely different session, and we are literally now running out of time. So this has been a great session, and before I think we sign off, I go back to the founder of Must, right? Joy, what's the bottom line? What are you driving at? I know this is all very interesting, but if I were to ask you in very simple layman's terms, uh, what are you driving at? I'm not for Must, right? But going by the entire mission,
Yeah.
if I were to like answer in a couple of lines.
Yeah. So definitely what we are, I mean, the mission statement, not only for mass research, as Indian also, what we are thinking about this emerging technologies, right? And so when we say about artificial intelligence, it also has like multiple components into it, right? So whether it is on IoT, to some extent, robotics, the machine learning, deep learning, all together, right? Even it's analytics, I mean, sometimes like advanced analytics, but the the objective here or the bottom line is like we are looking at like AI at every home, right? Har AI. So that's important, like so that all of us, all the Indians can consume the latest cutting edge emerging technologies. So that's the mission statement.
Right. Perfect. I think thanks everybody. I know this was a suddenly decided session, and I got you out of a lot of busy schedules to come and sit here. But it's been great. It raised more questions than it answered. So I think we will need some follow up sessions to look at some of the areas in much bigger detail, right? But thanks everybody, and happy Independence Day, and do enjoy your evening. Thanks
Thanks.
so much, and till we meet again,
Thanks
right?
everyone. Happy
Thanks,
Independence Day. Bye.
everyone. Have a great time and stay safe.
Thanks, Tony. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Happy.
Thanks. Bye.
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 Yes.